Welcome to RetroLogic. I'm Dan Caparello, and joining me today, as always, we have John Cummins.
Howdy.
We have Sam Wagers.
Hello.
And this week we have a very special guest, my friend and yours, Seth, from the All N podcast with us.
Hey, it's me, back again.
Here, back again. We've got a very Banjo-y, Kazooie-filled episode for you, because Seth, I hear you're a fan.
Yeah, you consulted the right person to yell about Banjo-Kazooie. I'm very good at that.
Absolutely. John, how are you doing? How are you doing, man? How's your week?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. Got some cool games in and actually played a little bit of them. So that's always good. Usually
good.
I buy games and they go right to a shelf. It doesn't help me out.
Yeah, you've been playing more lately. That's a good thing. That's a good thing for you.
Yeah.
Sam, what about you, dude? Anything interesting going on?
I've been knocking some games out.
Yes.
I finished Chrono Trigger. I finished Earthbound on stream this past week, so I can go back to only playing like 2 games at once instead of 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how you do that.
Oh, to have that much time in
I
my
usually
life.
don't.
Right.
It's hard for me to do too.
Awesome. Well, RetroLogic isn't just a podcast. It's also a retro game store. You can visit retrologic.games to check out our inventory of cleaned, tested, and authentic retro games, and also merch, shirts, and stickers, and magnets, and stuff. Right now, stickers are on sale. They're a couple bucks off, so go in there, grab the new sticker bundle. It's got 3 stickers and a magnet, and it's like $8, and it's free shipping. So you can't beat that. Best deal on the internet right there. Also, I wanted to say, in case you were unaware, we have a second podcast on the old network, RetroLogic Network. It's called Retro Groove, one word. And it's all about music. It has absolutely nothing to do with video games most of the time. Sometimes they bring stuff up, but it's mostly about vintage vinyl collecting and music history and stuff like that. And it's hosted by my brother Adam, who is an avid vinyl collector and just a music fan overall, and community member Liam, who works for a company that handles like music licensing or something like that. So he's got kind of like an insider's, he's got like an insider's view on stuff, and he's also just like a huge music buff. So it's really, really cool to listen to those guys jam out about music, and every once in a while I recognize something that they're talking about, so that's even fun. But I was on last week. I was on the podcast last week, and I got to talk about some of my favorite one-hit wonders of the 90s. So if you want to hear more of my voice, go check out Retro Groove, because they are super fun to listen to. So that's enough advertisements. Let's do our icebreaker, guys. Seth, you're our guest. What have you been buying? What have you been playing? Tell me all about it.
Yeah, sure. So I want to plug one thing real quick, because if you also want to hear more of Dan's voice, you can do so on my podcast, Keep Nintendo Weird.
Please plug stuff.
I mean, I got to, because I had you on to talk Gacha Force. So it's like, if people want to hear you talk Gacha Force, I got you covered. Right?
You got you covered. Exactly. That was so fun, because I don't think I've ever spent more than 5 minutes talking about this game, and we did a whole 40 minutes, an hour.
Yeah, about 45, 50 minutes. Yeah, something like that.
So if you're like sitting there and you're like, what is Gacha Force? You're just gonna have to go listen and find out, because I'm not gonna tell you. Or if you know me, then you already know. To know Dan,
already told them.
To know Dan,
there is also an Odama episode.
That's correct.
Yes,
correct.
We'll have to get John on there.
I gotta get John on there now. Yeah,
Ogre Battle or something. Right? I don't know if Ogre Battle is classifies as weird enough to be on Keep Nintendo Weird, but
I'm sure we can figure something out. But
sure.
That episode goes live this week, and you guys can look up Keep Nintendo Weird at K&W Podcast. It's a weird Nintendo podcast about loving weird Nintendo games. So always fun, always a fun time. In terms of what I bought, what I've been playing, so this is the big one, right? This is the Biggity Buck Bumble, which just came in today. I'm very happy.
I hear the music in my head.
The greatest theme song of all time for Buck Bumble on N64, which I got for a really good price, actually. I was like shocked. I got it for $18.
Okay.
So I was happy about that,
Yeah.
and it's in beautiful shape. So I was really thrilled about that. I haven't actually popped it in yet. I still need to pop it in and test. I just got it like today, and it came up in our conversation on Keep Nintendo Weird. It was so funny. So yeah, so that's awesome. I love that game. It's a weird, dumb little game where it's like a bee flight simulator before bee simulator was a thing. So yeah, that's always fun. Baten Kaitos for GameCube I picked up recently. I've been kind of messing around with that. That's on the shelf behind me. Want to do an episode of K&W about that. That's been interesting. That game is like, it's like an RPG with like card battling mechanics. And it does some really interesting things with like the items, and I don't know. It definitely is a weird Nintendo game. So I've been having fun messing with that. In terms of other things I've been playing, I want to shout out Pictooi, which is a Picross kind of married with Brain Age kind of game. I really enjoyed that. I have actually 100% of that game. I did all 300 puzzles and somehow found about 20 hours to spend with it in about a week. I have no idea how that happened, but it did. It was just a thing. Like I would just find myself on the couch with SGDQ on, and I was just playing Pictooi, man. Like it was a thing. Absolutely love that game. It's just like, it's such a simple idea. Just like it's literally the fusion dance of Brain Age and Picross, but it's just executed really, really well. Really like it. That's from Tui, the Mutant Muds and Zeo Drifter guys. Buddy of mine, Jules, watched them, who actually are based in Austin. Shout out to Austin, Texas.
Yeah, right on.
So yeah, that's been a lot of fun. And then lastly, like a lot of people, I've been playing Mario Golf Super Rush, which is a game that I'm a little conflicted on. Like I like it. I agree a lot with you, Dan. And I shouted this out when we did our review on All In. Like it's the golfing in the game. The actual golf mechanics are excellent, like really good. But it's just like the actual, like the golf adventure mode is like, it really didn't do anything for me. There's not enough courses. XC golf is like awful.
It's the worst.
But at the end of the day, the thing that is important, the gameplay, is really, really good. So I guess that's good enough for me. So that's kind of where I'm at with Mario Golf. But I gotta be honest though too, like I don't have a huge group of friends that play it consistently. So I feel like I'm already sort of done with it, which is unfortunate. But I still like the game overall, but I am a little bit, I do feel a little bit burned by the amount of content there on day one. So, but it is what it is. Still a fun game. The mechanics are fun. But yeah, that's about it for me.
Sweet. So yeah, Mario Golf Super Rush has been a topic of conversation around the horn for a little while. It's like, man, like I just want to go back and play the Game Boy Advance Mario Golf, because that adventure mode was like peak Mario Golf. So good. Mario Golf RPG, like they nailed it. And then it just I don't know.
What's annoying is like,
if you're not gonna go all out for the adventure mode, just don't even try.
Yeah.
Just give us a bunch of courses and like a tournament mode.
And that's the thing, right? Because it feels like they're like really close. Like there's a lot of wasted potential in Golf Adventure here, and I don't know, it's just kind of a bummer. But
yeah, big time.
I still like it.
The only thing keeping me there is the big tournament.
Yeah, Nintendo Dads have a tournament going on right now, and that keeps it really fun because you're like up against people and you can keep getting your score better and better and better. But like
the rules change every week too, so it's you never know what you're gonna play, which is nice.
We found out this week that you don't have to play through adventure mode to get all the courses. You just have to do 18 holes on that course to unlock it. So that made things
a lot quicker.
Yeah, honestly, and less headache for no reason.
Less of a slog.
Yeah, so
no cross country golf.
Goodness.
So Sam, what is up with you, my man? What did you buy? What did you play?
So I received a pretty big lot this week. I talked a little bit about getting PAL version games for my Super NT, taking advantage of the fact that it is region free. So, of course, it was only a matter of time before I started getting into those Super Famicom games that never released over here. So, one of those being Mario and Wario, which is a game that uses the Super Nintendo mouse. So I'll have to borrow that one from my brother. But that is a game that is very English friendly.
As John holds his copy up to the camera, of course.
if you're thinking about getting into that, it's a great one to start with because it's cheap. It's Mario, very unlike Mario in gameplay, but it is Mario and Wario as the main characters. And along with that, Front Mission, and the 3 Ganbare Goemon sequels that were not released here. We got Legend of the Mystical Ninja, which is the first Super Nintendo game in the series. There were, I think, 3 NES games and 4 SNES games. So that is a series that was just churning out sequels, and we only got 1 out of all of those.
Didn't we get an N64
I have heard
game?
that they get way crazier than the first game, and the first game was pretty crazy.
Yeah, we did get
There are
an
2
N64
games, and I think both of those did release in the US.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay, cool. What'd you play?
And as far as playing, like I said, I finished up Earthbound and Chrono Trigger around both in the same week. Just kind of coincided that way. Had a accident on stream where, at the last turn of fighting the final boss of Earthbound, I accidentally unplugged my console with my foot.
Oh
Just
my!
jarred the
God.
connection loose and had to resume from the previous save. But I got through it. It's okay. It made for a great moment.
Brutal, man.
And after getting those out of the way, I went back to Terranigma, which I've been having a great time with. That game just kind of blows my mind and where it goes. It's just so surreal. Like, in some ways, it sounds like typical RPG stuff, but it is very different mood. Where instead of trying to save the world, you are trying to revive a dead world. So, you know, the first chapter 1 is raising the continents out of the ocean, and these are our continents too. This is Africa, North America, South America, Europe, and Asia. And then for chapter 2, you are restoring life forms.
No Antarctica. No Antarctica in that.
Antarctica is not included. There are actually a couple like secret subcontinents like Polynesia. But yeah, then you're restoring life. So you start with the plants, which I think is in the Amazon. You go to the Amazon to revive this tree that's like the mother of all plants or something. And then you go to Colorado to free the birds from their curse. And then you go to Africa to revive the animals. And then lastly, you go to the Himalayas to revive the humans. And it's just, there's this scene that just kind of took me by surprise in that last area. It's a snowy area. You get caught in an avalanche. And there's this scene that takes place. You're trapped in this cave with this goat. And the animals talk. I guess the main character Ark has some sort of connection to them to like hear their voices. But yeah, there's actually 2 goats in the cave, and one of them's dead. And this goat's like, yeah, that's my friend. I tried everything I could, but I couldn't save him. And you're like, wow, that's really sad. And like you spend time just trapped in this cave with this goat, huddling together for warmth. And then you get up in the morning and he's like, we need to preserve our strength. How about some breakfast? And you're like, where's he going to get breakfast? And he walks over to the other goat. And you're like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm eating. This way he'll always be with me. And you're like, what?
Oh my God.
It's just like, where did that come from?
So yeah, everyone thinks that the, Doki Doki Literature Club is not what it seems. This is like even more crazy.
And move over, Last of Us.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Whew, okay. Well, cannibalism in video games, huh?
Is it not cannibalism? It's goats.
Well, if a goat eats another goat,
another goat,
isn't that?
Yeah, but it's not like.
Dude.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
Canon on this show, John is okay with animal cannibalism. Just putting that out there.
Add it to the wiki.
Hey,
Yeah.
sometimes it's all natural, man. Sharks eat each other.
Let's quickly move on to our next thing. Thank you, Sam, for enlightening us to some very spoilerish territory in Terranigma that doesn't matter, apparently.
Hey, it's an
John,
old game.
please save us.
I'll
What did
save
you-
you with the big.
What
big
did you
list
buy
of
this
stuff
week?
that I
Yes, please.
So I've been kind of hunting down a copy of Kid Icarus Uprising for the 3DS. I've been wanting the complete one with the stand and the box and the cards and
Mhm.
everything. And they'd been, I passed up on a couple when they were $30, and then they just went to $40, and they just kept going up. And I was like, oh, I need to get one now because they're about to skyrocket for some reason.
Yeah.
So I found one for $40, like the regular price.
Nice.
Bought it. It came in. I checked it out, made sure everything was there. The cards are all intact still, so it's all good. I haven't actually played this game, so listen to everyone else talk
3DS
about
game.
it. Yeah, I need to
Super
go back
good.
and play that one for
Yeah.
sure. Now, for some reason, instead, I played Heroes of Ruin on the 3DS, and
What
probably
is,
not as good of a game.
what is that?
It's it reminds me a lot of like Gauntlet Legends.
Oh,
Where you have you could choose between some heroes and you go through maps and clear out enemies,
sweet.
level up. So I guess any action RPG. That's just the one it reminds me of the most.
That's fun. It's fun. It's good.
But so I got that, and then I picked up a copy of Tales of Symphonia for the GameCube,
Sweet.
and
Oh,
this was a weird one because I just checked an email one day and Mercari gave me a $40 coupon, credit
Ooh.
on my account, and I was like, I didn't sell anything. This is weird. Why do I have this?
That happened to me
was like,
too.
well-
If you share links from Mercari and people buy stuff using your links, they'll
Okay.
give you some kickback or whatever from the sale. 40 is a lot,
Sure.
so that's nice.
Yeah.
But I think
That
I've
is
had
a lot.
10 and 20 before.
Sure. I was just like, hey, I got $40. I'm gonna buy a game that I want, so I picked this one up. There was a copy at the local for $35 for the longest time, and I should have just grabbed it.
oh.
And it was gone one day when I went to go get it. So then it just got me searching a little bit. And when that coupon popped up, I was like, sweet, there's plenty of them on here for $40. So just snagged one up. And then I picked up Star Wars Battlefront 2 for the PS2. I got this at Goodwill for $3.
Awesome.
It was just one that just happened to be there. And I also picked up a copy of Pac-Man Fever, the vinyl album.
Oh, nice.
Which-
Amazing.
I should have shared it with the Retro Groove guys.
Yeah, Retro
but I
Groove,
forgot
yeah.
to send it over there. Yeah, I had somebody ask me what it was, and I was like, I really don't know because I don't even have a record player to play this. I've just only heard of it.
It's a cool thing to have, but you don't listen. It's fine. It's not a good song.
Yeah.
It's-
I didn't. Yeah. Well, there's several on there. I just don't know what they all are. But yes, so that was my Goodwill run. I never go there, and I just popped in one day, check it out, and that was there. So I picked up Final Fantasy 12 Collector's Edition on, not really on purpose, but I bought a guide for Wings of Ruin for the
Nice.
DS, and the guy's like, "Hey, I got this copy of 12 for the PS2, the Collector's Edition. It's not worth anything. If you want it, I'll take it." I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll give it to you." So he threw that in there. So now I have a steelbook version of Final Fantasy 12, which I didn't even know existed.
Awesome. That's a
Oh,
great
yeah.
game too. But yeah, it's
Dude, we when I worked at GameStop, we could have had a frisbee league with FF12 discs.
Oh, I
There were so
imagine.
many of them.
So yeah, now I have the standard version and I have the collector's edition, and I don't think I paid less than $10 for both of them.
yeah,
either.
right on.
Nice.
Today I was I went to a flea market after I did some stuff after work, and this guy had in his booth a copy of Breath of Fire for the GBA, and he had $20 on it. So I was like, yeah, I'll take that.
Nice.
And fired it up, opened it up, make sure everything was good and plays good. And then Liam has talked me into buying yet another copy of Balan Wonderland for the Switch.
Please stop buying copies of Balan Wonderland.
We're going to inadvertently raise the price ourselves just from buying all of the copies up.
I've been thinking about it.
It's $20.
I'll wait till it's
$5.
$5. I'll wait till it's $5. Then I'll buy one. Okay.
Yeah, they're probably going to give them away. So yeah, now I have 2 sealed copies of this game that I don't ever plan on even playing. And then my copies of No More Heroes 1 and 2 came in from Limited Run Games. So I have the collector's versions of those. I did a little bit of complaining, but not too bad on the packaging. My boxes were dented up a little bit. But I think I'm going to open them.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to open them, so it's not going to be as big of a deal. If I was leaving them sealed and going to just tuck them away, it'd be different. But
have you wanted to play? Have you played them before?
I played a little bit of the first game, and at the time it didn't really click with me. But after playing a little bit of Travis Strikes Back, like I want to go back and try them out because I enjoyed that.
The second one fixed some stuff. Yeah, the second one fixed some stuff. I like the plot of the first one better, but like whatever. The second one does play better. But they're both really good. I really enjoyed both of them back in the day.
Me too. Yeah.
I doubt I'll have time to play them both before the third game comes out, but I do plan on picking that up as well. And I kind of wanted to at least try to play a little bit of them.
Get that trilogy.
Yep. And I was one of the probably handful of people that picked up Monster Hunter Stories 2 for the Switch. I got the collector's edition of that as well, and all the amiibo that go with it. And I was able to get some for Solo as well, because he missed out on the
payback for him. Nice. He's been helping out the whole community with his GameStop hookup.
Yeah. So yeah, I just got those shipped out to him today. They should be there later this week. And that's all I picked up. What I played, I actually ended up sitting down and I was testing out Tales of Symphonia. I hooked my RetroTink Mini to my projector and was going through some of the filters on my larger screen. And I was like, well, I'll just throw these in there and test them out, make sure they work, as it comes with 2 discs. And I sat down and I played like 4 hours of that game. It's just like not even.
It's
just
so
like went
good.
Right in.
Man.
Yeah, it just sucked me in. Yeah, I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna play this alongside Mario Golf and Monster Hunter Stories 2, which is the other game I still will be playing for the next 8 weeks. So I won't talk about it a whole lot. And that's it. What'd you get, Dan?
Right on. Good list, man. Thanks. So Ben really light this summer on purchasing just without the Dan Cave in full effect. It just seems like pointless to buy games because it all just goes in a box in my closet until I can put everything back the way it was. So I have like a stack of games I have to add to my collection, which will actually be a really fun day in the fall when it cools off here. So what I did pick up this week is I got a Split Pad Pro off of Amazon for like almost nothing because it was on sale and I had credit, and I've been eyeing them because it's like, cause I just like to experiment with like, okay, like what's the best controller combination handheld, because I play almost exclusively handheld on my Switch.
That's by Hori, right?
Yeah, it's by Hori. Yep, and so it has a fatal flaw, and I'll tell you what that is. So I love how it feels, right? And it's great to have like full joysticks, big buttons, nice and comfortable to hold. But the game that I would be playing this for mostly would be Borderlands or Doom.
Right.
And I've gotten accustomed to motion controls in those games, even in handheld mode, for making like little micro adjustments, right? While you're doing those big swooping motions, micro adjustments while you're shooting, it just totally changes how you play. And there's 0% motion control in those Split Pad Pro. There's nothing.
That's why they're so cheap.
And I would pay an extra $10 for the freaking motion controls so I could have a nice, comfortable set of Joy-Con. But I'm probably going to sell them because that's literally a deal breaker for me. Like the kind of games where you need the best controller, first person shooters and action games like Splatoon. It would have been great for Splatoon, but there's no way in hell I'm playing any of those games without motion controls. I'm used to it now. You know, Doom added it in and it's amazing. So I'm probably just going to sell them because I have a nice grip case on my Switch that's like gives me a pretty good feel for portable mode. I would have liked the bigger sticks, but not at the expense of motion controls. So not a fan of the Split Pad Pro. That's just me.
That's unfortunate, dude.
Yeah, it sucks. But I mean, you know, I spent like maybe $6 getting them to me because of all those Amazon credits. So I'm just going to turn that back into cash. So
maybe they'll like add like another accessory to them, like a N64 Rumble pack to the back of them, and then.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks for the. Well, my question is, doesn't the screen itself have
no
accelerometers in it? Because because listen, don't just know me. Listen.
To the controllers.
When you have the Labo VR and you disconnect your controllers, it still works. I did it. You can play Breath of the Wild with the thing attached to your head with the Joy-Con at your side. You don't need to attach your Joy-Con to your screen. So I think it does. But the game doesn't know to look for the screen's motion controls. It's looking for the controller's motion controls. So I don't know if there's like a setting somewhere to change that, or I don't know. It's all very complicated. But at the end of the day, I don't need the Split Pad Pro. It just kind of was a nice thing to try out.
If it does have it, they don't advertise it.
I'm going to Google
Maybe
it.
it's because I still have the one normal Joy-Con attached, but I've used gyro controls with a Hori D-pad Joy-Con.
I've used that too.
side.
Yeah. And that could be because of the extra Joy-Con, but I don't know. I'm going to Google it and I'll let you know by the end of the show whether or not the screen has motion controls.
Dan's going to find out how to turn it on and keep his Hori pads.
I don't want them. They're fine. Sell it. I don't care.
You're burnt now. Yeah.
I don't care. Like, how am I going to play Skyward Sword? I'm not. I can't. You can't not. It's fine.
Sure, well, if you're playing handheld, you're not using motion anyway. Use the
I guess
right
you're right.
stick.
I guess that's true. So the other thing that I picked up this week, I subscribed to the Video Game History Foundation. What they have is basically a library of like every video game magazine and strategy guide ever made. And most of it was donated and purchased or whatever. So they have like millions of doubles of all of these. So what they're doing is they're like, hey, like for $15 a month, we'll send you a new magazine every month. And it's like, you know, whatever vintage magazine. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I get to support the Video Game History Foundation, which is an amazing cause for preservation, and I get a magazine. So that's neat. And this week I got a 2003 issue of GamePro that had a Splinter Cell on the cover. And that was a really cool issue because that was GameCube era. So there's tons of Nintendo stuff in there.
Yeah, man.
Game Boy Advance stuff in there. That was a really fun flip through. And it comes, almost didn't want to open it because it comes in like a really nice plastic with the cardboard backing and like a certificate of authenticity and all that. But my curiosity got the best of me and I opened it and whatever. It's not like that specific issue is going to be worth anything. Except now it probably is because I opened it.
I was going to say timestamp that.
Yeah.
Maybe
Come
go
back
to
and
in a
look
few
now.
years.
Yeah. In
Heritage auctions, right?
In 10 years, $1.5 million. But that was really, really cool to open and to check out. And I love supporting those guys over at the History Foundation. And that's pretty much it. I mean, what's up?
Oh, when I saw your magazine, like when you showed pictures of it, I thought it was still in like the plastic mailer that they came in.
No,
like whenever we used to have subscriptions, they would come in a plastic mailer covering them up.
No.
That's what I thought that was at first.
No,
That
it's
would've
its
been
own
really
little
cool.
protective case thing. But yeah, that would
I
be
don't
cool.
know if I would have been able to open it if that was the case.
Definitely not. And then for playing this week, mostly Mario Golf. Also playing with the Nintendo Dad's Tournament. Because I'm pretty much done with story mode. I just can't anymore.
Yeah,
I just literally can't. I don't want to talk anymore about Mario Golf. This is ridiculous. What else I have done is I played. So I carry my little green Game Boy Pocket around with me everywhere with my copy of Pokemon Blue, and I've been playing the same game of Pokemon Blue for 3 years, maybe 4 years. And I just every once in a while I'll turn it on and I'll get a little bit further and I'll turn it off and then I won't touch it for months and I'll pick it back up. Because I could play that game with my eyes closed at this point, Pokemon Blue. Like, that's my game. But so I played a little bit of that and I got to the Safari Zone, which ended up being like really, really cool. Come here. Sorry, my dog is joining us now. Come here. Let me move you over here. Come on. There you go. Okay. I'm sure that was really entertaining for our listeners. My dog is now on the podcast. Say hi, Carrie. Okay, whatever.
Carrie Fisher.
Carrie Fisher, yeah. Got to the Safari Zone, caught a Rhyhorn, caught a bunch of stuff. And then my Dratini evolved. So some pretty eventful stuff in that little like couple hours. And now I'm in the Seafoam Islands. And I don't remember where Articuno is, if it's there or somewhere else. So I'm like kind of in the middle of like, okay, do I get my guide out? Because I have a guide. I have a physical guide as well, but I don't want to do that if I don't have to, because I'm pretty sure I know everything. But sometimes memories are fuzzy. So that's that. The continuing chronicles of Dan playing through one game of Pokemon for his entire life. So that's that, guys. What do you say we play some Prices Retro? I need to get Adam to make me that
Sound effect.
Wow, in 8-bit, but I'm sure that like
Right.
that trumpet sound is hard to, like the purr would be hard in 8-bit. I don't know, maybe not. So if
Probably
this
just
is
be one constant note.
right. So if this is your first time playing Prices Retro, here's how we play. I'm going to give you a list of 4 or 5 games, and you're going to guess how much all of the games are worth together, based on PriceCharting.com's current evaluation. So the prices change and fluctuate, but we're going to use price charting as kind of our standard. And we're all going to go around and tell our lists, and we're all going to guess. And at the end of everyone, whoever is closest to guessing the actual price of all the lists, we're going to calculate it all up. They win. And tell them what they win, Sam.
Honor and dignity.
Honor and dignity, which, in 2021, honor and dignity, you could do worse. Also today we have a pretty interesting little ending to our Prices Retro that I will tell you about at the end of Prices Retro. So Seth, do you know what you're doing? Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I absolutely, man.
Sweet.
And again, in a traditional RetroLogic fashion, do have a theme. It's a fairly easy theme, and given our pre-recording conversation, you can probably kind of piece it together fairly easily. But so we're going to start off here with Little Nemo, the Dream Master on NES Loose. Yeah. Shout out to John.
All right.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Klonoa Empire of Dreams for the GBA Loose. Mario and Luigi Dream Team for the 3DS Loose.
I got it. I got the theme.
And Tac 2 The Staff of Dreams for GameCube New.
Dreamcast hardware inbox.
Yeah.
I was just trying to come up with whatever else you would say.
I should.
What was that last game
that.
that I didn't listen to because I was
Tac
talking?
2 The Staff of Dreams for GameCube New.
Brother. New?
Man, new.
New.
Oh,
Sealed?
gosh.
You jerk.
Yep.
Okay.
God, things would be stupid high. It's a GameCube game.
Well, sometimes the sealed copy is not that much more than the complete box, depending on the game.
Yeah.
Depending.
It might help if I knew what the game was.
Okay, I have a number here. I'm gonna say 150. Come on, guys.
200.
Numbers. What was it?
I'm
200.
200 for
Okay.
Sam.
I'm gonna do 325.
Whoa. Big money over
Right.
there with John.
So,
All right, Seth. So do your
Grand
total, then
total.
do each individual game.
absolutely. Grand total is 108.98 for the whole lot.
That's how we play, baby.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, Dan, you were on the money about TAC. That game actually new is only 26.85.
Yeah.
So
I have a
It's one of those.
sealed copy of Donkey Konga, and that game's like 30 maybe sealed because
yeah,
cares? It's
just
Donkey
one of
Konga.
those weird things.
Yeah.
So I'll work backwards. So Mario and Luigi Dream Team loose, that was $16.16. Klonoa for the GBA was the most expensive one here at $49.99, and then Little Nemo was $15.98 loose.
Right on.
So
Good list, Seth.
isn't there a Klonoa game that's very valuable?
PS1 game, the first one.
That's
Right.
what I'm thinking of. Dang it.
Yeah,
I
so
that
kinda
one goes
assumed
for like
this one would be
$200.
almost as much. I assumed
Yeah.
this one would be like 80, 90 or something.
Interesting.
I was
Yeah.
thinking like 150, and then I was just gonna
is
go
it
with like
door
100
to
something for a sealed one.
Phantomile or something. Anyway, that game complete in box is like $500
holy moly
for
yeah.
PS1. So
Yeah, I mean, I like the Klonoa games, but yeah, it was all about it was dreams, and of course, the early version of Banjo Kazooie was Dreamland of Giants. So
Yes.
oh, cool. That was a cool little
My,
tie-in.
My half knowledge of Klonoa failed me.
John,
So now I'm starting off with the behind.
John, why don't you go next?
Okay, so my list also has a theme, and like usual, it's usually themed around something I bought. So, first game is Tales of Destiny for the PS1, and these are all complete. So I'll just throw that out there.
Can I get a genre on
front-
Tales of Destiny?
It's a Tales game, RPG.
Oh, like Tales of Symphonia.
Yes.
I listen sometimes. Okay.
Tales of Fantasia for the Game Boy Advance,
oh,
complete.
Complete?
Tales of
Sure.
Yeah, these are all complete, but I'll say it. Tales of Hearts R for the PlayStation Vita, complete. And Tales of the Abyss for the 3DS, complete.
Tales of the Abyss for the 3DS. Somebody else go first, please.
I have a number. I'm not confident. I've got 225.
290.
Okay.
250, right down the middle. Ish.
All right, so total of my lot is $493.
Ay.
Gosh.
Oh,
So
savagery.
the first game on my list, Tales of Destiny for the PS1 complete, is $262 right now.
Holy moly, brother.
It's
What the
outrageous.
heck?
So I probably wasn't off on the other ones by much.
Tales of
that's what I'm thinking.
Fantasia. Yeah, Tales of Fantasia complete for the Game Boy Advance is $83. Tales of Hearts R for the Vita is $100. And Tales
Oh,
of
wow.
Abyss for the 3DS is $48. All these Tales games are like, well, not all of them. These were the higher end of them, but a lot of them are starting to creep up a little bit.
Bonkers, dude. That's cray-cray. All right, Sam, go for it.
All right. Of course, I have a theme. It may be obvious to you. It may not. I'll tell you the theme later so it doesn't influence your guesses. First game is Chex Quest for the PC, complete.
Almost made me choke on my water. Yes.
Followed by
wow.
Pajama Sam, No Need to Hide When It's Dark Outside for the PC,
Oh my
complete.
goodness. I love this list, Sam.
The Amazon Trail for the PC, complete. And Captain Crunch's Crunchling Adventure for the PC, complete.
Dude,
Sam,
this is brutal.
I have literally not even the faintest idea what any of this stuff is worth. I'm going to give you $50 for all those games.
Did you ever play Chex Quest? I totally played it. It was Doom. Yeah, it's Doom. Yeah.
Dude, I loved it. It was so fun.
I'm going to go 120.
So 50, 120.
One of those is going to cost like $500. Watch.
Right?
I will do $75 just to split it.
Split it.
All right, the total is $99.73.
Ooh.
So wait, that might be me. Or wait, well, no, I guess.
What
it's
was your
probably
number?
You said 120, didn't you?
Yeah,
Oh,
so
that
no,
is
I guess
definitely
that'd
is
be
you.
John, probably.
Yeah.
So
I said 75.
You're off by
John.
$20 and some change.
Yeah.
John's off.
I want to know the breakdown for that.
So Pajama Sam is $23.74. Chex Quest is the highest at $49.99.
Wow.
Amazon Trail is $2. And Captain Crunch's Crunchling Adventure is $24.
I was expecting them all to be $2.
Well, yeah, I was about to say $4 just as a joke, but I knew they had to be worth something because these were
Now,
all
Now,
the cereal
I
ones were
almost
free
put
games.
There is a big box edition of Chex Quest
Oh my
that's on
gosh.
price charting.
Is
And
that
that goes for
right?
about 80 complete.
That might be
I'm
the
not sure what
re-release.
that is, but yeah.
I think
I was gonna say,
limited
does
run.
Complete in
Somebody
Box-
did.
Oh,
Does Complete in Box include the cereal or no?
I don't know. I do
Sealed
not
cereal.
know.
Sealed cereal in the box.
That's awesome.
Graded based on the condition of the cereal, whether or not the cereal
Right.
is still good.
That is hilarious. Okay, so my turn from my list. I have a theme, but it is very obscure and you're not going to get it, and I'll tell you what it is afterwards. So, the first one we have Sin and Punishment for the Japanese Nintendo 64, loose. We have Light Crusader for the Sega Genesis, complete in box. We have Bucky O'Hare for the NES, loose. And Gradius 5 for the PlayStation 2, complete in box. Give me them numbers, baby.
Are these all treasure games?
Some of them are treasure games, but that's
Okay.
not my theme. That would have been too easy.
Space.
Crusader is.
Okay, can I get that list one
no.
more time, just rapid fire?
They are all in space, but that's not my theme. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, so rapid fire.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sin and Punishment, Japanese for the N64 did not come out in the US. So, Light Crusader for the Sega Genesis, complete. Bucky O'Hare, loose. And Gradius 5, complete. Sin and Punishment is loose, by the way. 8, 6, 7.
I'm going to say 250.
Okay, 250 for John.
I'm gonna say
160.
200.
160 for Sam. Seth, I missed yours.
I'm gonna do 200.
200 for Seth. Okay, so actual retail price is $340. Now,
Yeah.
I'll tell you each game
Tracks.
and then I'll tell you the theme. So, Sin and Punishment Japanese copy loose is $55. Light Crusader for the Sega Genesis complete is $43. Bucky O'Hare for the NES is a whopping $170. Loose.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gradius 5 for PS2 complete is $72, which I was actually surprised
Gosh.
by that one.
That's the one that killed me.
Yeah.
I only had $10 on
I
that.
think the first two.
I was surprised by that when I looked it up too, because that used to
Bucky
be
got me there.
that used to be nothing. But yeah, Bucky's pretty famous for its price, but I thought even that was high. Sin and
Yeah, I
Punishment,
thought that was like the complete price.
yeah. Sin and Punishment has been hovering around 50 for a long time. So my theme is all of these games had somebody on their development team, and that person is Hiroshi Iuchi, and he is a composer, designer, graphic designer, game designer, jack of all trades, master of none. Started at Konami and then in 1992, he actually, for Konami, he worked on a lot of the character art for the Simpsons arcade game and animations for that. And then in 92, he and a bunch of other Konami employees left Konami and formed Treasure, and they made Gunstar Heroes. And he was the director. No, I think he was a character designer. No, he was background designer on Gunstar Heroes, which dropped in 93. Then, yeah, he worked for Treasure up until like very, very recently, like 2007. And then now he's
one of my favorite developers of all time.
Now he's a contractor, but like he worked on the Simpsons game, Gunstar Heroes, Radiance. He directed Raiden Silvergun and Ikaruga. So the dude's got some chops.
Oh, wow.
And I almost bought the little Game Gear Mini that had Gunstar Heroes on it.
Ooh, yeah.
Because PlayAsia had a deal where you could get free shipping on that stuff for a little while. Actually, it might still be going.
Nice.
But yeah, all these games had his involvement in one way or another. And I think he directed Gradius 5. Later in his career, he started directing all the like late game shmups. So obviously the dude's got some chops and deserves to be talked about a little bit. So here we are. That's that. That is how we play Price is Retro. We have a what's up?
Well, do you want to know who won?
Yep. Oh yeah. That's how.
No, because it wasn't.
I always forget that. Let's find out who won, and then we have a
hunch.
We have a fun thing. Go ahead.
Total difference for Dan was 301. Total difference for me was 332. Total difference for Sam was 475. And total difference for Seth was 428, which makes Dan the winner.
Boom, baby.
He edged me out with his list.
How are you and I doing, John? Neck and neck now, or what? Do you have one up on me?
That's gotta be a tie, right?
No, I'm actually like 4 up on you still after this win.
No, that's because I was gone. You can't count those.
Okay, 2 up.
Fine, jerk. All right.
You're still up on me.
You have to be gone for a week or two to like balance out the force.
Yeah, I'm sure at some point.
So we had a fun thing happen in our community. One of our community members came across a really sweet haul. One of his friends just like gave him a tote bin full of video games, and obviously it was chock full of goodies. And I'm trying to pull up the list here. So it's a list of like, what is this, like 50, 60 games? So I'm not going to read them off. If you want the list, you're going to have to join our Discord. But everybody in our community was guessing various numbers. And did any of you look at the total?
I did not, but I did guess.
Okay.
On the Discord article.
Let's get y'all's guesses in just for fun, and then I'll reveal the actual total.
My guess was 3550.
Okay. Sam?
I already looked at the total. So
oh, okay.
I don't
all right.
Guess.
And then, I'll just reveal it because the community all guessed in our Discord. And if you want, here's a plug for the Discord. It's open. Go to my Twitter at RetroLogic Games, click that Discord link, and join the Discord and have a great time talking about video games with some of the most positive and fun, chill dudes in the world.
You can let Seth guess if he wants to guess.
Did you see the list?
No, I know I've seen the pictures and you know I've heard the legends, but I have not seen the list or the total. I was gonna go $3,000, just even, but I'm sure I'm way off.
All right, just to give the listeners an idea. I mean, we've got like Advance Wars 2, Alien Hominid, Disgaea 2, Doom for the Super Nintendo, Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy
Skies of Arcadia,
8, Skies of Arcadia, Ocarina of Time, Mario Party 5, Donkey Kong. Mario vs. Donkey Kong 2, Marvel vs. Capcom for PS1. It's a huge list, and there's tons of great stuff in here.
Legendary lot.
So the total of this lot is $2,688.
Wow. Seth was almost right on it.
Seth was pretty close.
Wow.
But yeah, we had a bunch of guesses in the community, and now that y'all know, I'll drop that total in the Prices Retro channel, so y'all can fight about who won. And now we are finally done with Prices Retro. Congrats, me. Thank you, me. We have a couple of weekly topics we're going to chat about. First off, we are playing Castlevania Bloodlines as a community right now. As part of our Retro Rewind. Oops, that's in Retro Rewind, not in crossplay. Oh well, let's talk about it now. That game is available on the Castlevania collection on Switch. So go pick it up, come join the community, and come play with us because it's fun. It's fun to do that. We're going to have a live community discussion podcast where anybody playing the game can join and chat about it later in July. So stay tuned and keep an ear out for that for details on how to join that. Next up, we have what happened this day in gaming history, you guys. And I've been talking for too long, so I'm going to let Sam go first. Sam had a game 14 years ago today on July 12th, 2007, Mega Man ZX Advent for the DS. Sam.
It's a Mega Man game. I actually really like the ZX games.
It would have been great if like that was the end of your... That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I talk about Mega Man games a lot, so... of note, this is one that ended on this is a sequel to the first Mega Man ZX. Was the first game in this sub-series, which was sort of a continuation of Zero, but with a new main character several hundred years further in the future later. ZX Advent ends on a cliffhanger if you unlock the true ending, and they never followed it up with anything because Mega Man died in about 2010 or so, when they canceled all those Mega Man games.
Oh my god.
So, yeah, it's just one of those dangling threads, just like Legends 2, which is actually the end of the Mega Man timeline as we know it now. But I thought this game was pretty cool. This did walk back a lot of what ZX was trying to do. ZX kind of tried to push Mega Man into a Metroidvania formula. It didn't really execute terribly well on that. So this still has that, but you can tell it's kind of segmented into more or less linear stages, kind of in a manner somewhat similar to Metroid Fusion, kind of toes that line. But it's really cool because every time you beat a boss, instead of just getting a weapon, you gain the ability to just straight up turn into that boss, which is really cool because there's one who's like a giant... ice crocodile, and he just gets to like destroy things just by walking. It's also kind of frustrating though because the level design is definitely built around the base character's abilities. So you switch and then you find yourself having to immediately switch back to climb up a wall, which most of the boss forms can't do, which is kind of lame. Nonetheless, it's a pretty good game. It is on the Zero ZX collection on Switch if you want to check it out.
Neato. I forgot the ZX collection existed, and that is something that I need to bust into. Really cool, man. Thanks for the chat. My game for this gaming history is 21 years old today. It can legally drink, and it is Virtua Tennis for the Dreamcast. Now, Dan, why would you be talking about Virtua Tennis for the Dreamcast? Well, because I played a butt ton of this game with my friends. It like rivals Mario Tennis for the N64 as like my favorite tennis game of all time, which is stupid because like I don't play sports games, but it's just for some reason Sega just totally nailed just every aspect of this game aside from the fact that you're boring humans and like I can't tell like they're just humans playing tennis.
Your polygons probably.
Yeah, it literally like they did a really great job just making the multiplayer fun and nailing all the mechanics and having every character kind of be a little bit unique. But really, it's just like probably the most solid tennis game you could ever play. You know, they didn't do anything like revolutionary or crazy. They just nailed every aspect that needs to be nailed to have a fun tennis game. And it's like a $10 Dreamcast game, so you can't go wrong there. So yeah, that's about it. I just wanted to mention it because I love it and it's super fun. Next up, we have our old news section, which not a lot happening in the retro world this week, but we do want to chat a little bit about this tiny, insignificant piece of news where Super Mario 64 sealed copy of Super Mario 64 sells for what is now the most amount of money ever purchased for video, most amount of money ever I'm having a brain fart right now. How do you say that?
Like
The-
like ever spent on a video game?
Never spent. Spent is the word I couldn't think of in that moment. Thank you, Seth, for the quick save.
Absolutely.
$1.5 million and change for Super Mario 64 sealed. Thoughts on this? What the heck?
It's weird, right?
Like, it just
A
broke
lot of
the
me thinks it
previous
will
record,
never
right?
sell for this much again. But
Yeah.
I think it is somewhat illuminate because it's not like Mario 64 is a rare game. Now I
Right.
don't know how many this was rated a 9.8 by Wada. That's presumably why it's so valuable.
Kotaku was saying this is one of 5 copies known in this condition that are sealed. So
But
that's
it's interesting too because I checked price charting does have some data on sealed games, and
Mhm.
just last month a 9.2 sealed Mario 64 sold for 5,000,
Mhm.
which is a lot less for 0.6 less quality.
Right.
Well, and the
Yeah.
fact that
And
there's
I mean-
4 other ones in existence, if
Yeah.
this was the only
Well, and it's just-
9.8, I would say
There are
yeah,
rarer
maybe.
games too. I think it shows that the sealed graded market is an entirely different ball game than the collector, even the complete in box market.
well, and
Because
that's
I mean, you think if Mario 64 sells for, what about an actually rare N60? What about like Clay Fighter Sculptor's Cut? How much would that sell
Right.
for if it was a 9.8? Probably not as much, because I think these collectors are putting this much money into this because they're kind of banking on the fact that Mario is going to retain value because people are always going to be interested in Mario. 2 generations from now, people may completely forget Clay Fighter exists.
That's not happening. It's not as long as Keep Nintendo Weird exists.
Do that Clay Fighter episode. Yeah, this is a weird one, man. I'm wondering if it's like one of those things where I've seen some conspiracy theorists go around, like maybe it's a money laundering thing or something like that or whatever. But yeah, I mean, Sam, you're right. Like the sealed ball game is just a totally different. Like it's not even the same universe, right? For these guys, and maybe it's like a historical thing. Maybe they're like, hey, I'm buying this because it's going to be in the Smithsonian one day or something. I want to own one of the few pristine copies of this iconic game. So I don't know, it's a weird one, man.
At the same time, it does kind of worry me though, because at least the complete in box market is gonna go up because of stuff like this. Because I mean,
Sure.
you've got to think somebody who at least has some knowledge of games has got to be seeing this and going, well, what if I start buying complete in box copies of Mario 64 and sending them off to be graded? Now, I'm not going to find a 9.8, but I could find a couple 9.2s, and that's going to take the value up from like whatever a complete in box Mario 64 is, like $75 to like 5,000. I'm going to make a lot of money. I got to pay Wada to grade the thing, which is not cheap, by the way.
Yeah. Here's my thing. Whoever bought this is not a collector, right? And it's not a museum. It's likely somebody who has like, it's a super rich person, right? Somebody didn't just like empty their savings account to buy this. This is somebody who $1.5 million is a drop in the bucket. And that person probably doesn't give 2 craps about Super Mario 64 or the significance of it or what we think about it. They are likely putting that money in a place so that it's safe, quote unquote, in a place where, I mean, and I'm no billionaire, so I don't know how it all works, but just like art collecting, where people purchase ridiculously expensive pieces of art and then put them away to be in storage, it's a way of keeping your money safe, so it's not like liquid cash all the time, so that it can be like preserved or whatever.
Well, I mean, the fact is, when it comes to things like art collecting, I mean, those are items that appreciate in value, which is going to do you better than just putting something in a bank account, because inflation at times, especially like right now, we're seeing a lot of inflation in the US dollar. Inflation will outpace whatever interest you're getting.
But that's why this buyer doesn't they don't care. They are
And
putting
it's very the case in the just the general art world. You know,
Yeah.
I saw something, I don't know how well that remains true, but even when it comes to museums, only about 5% of what's been collected is ever displayed.
yeah.
The only difference I can think of is that we're talking about, you talk about fine art, there's only one of that piece in existence. I don't think this person's ever going to get that money back out of Mario 64 sealed, even in the condition that it's in.
And they're banking on the 1 of 5 that's been rated this high, but
Exactly.
it remains to be seen how consistent WATA ratings prove to be. You know, WATA's only been doing this since 2018, I think. And especially early on, there were people who sent the same thing to them twice and got different grades. I don't know if they've, tightened up their procedures in such a way that they can be consistent.
It just seems so subjective. Like if you have two different raters doing the same thing.
Well, they've got to prove it. You've got to put a lot of trust in them and what they're doing, and you've got to put a lot of trust that other people will trust that their rating is still good later.
It's true.
Yeah.
So it remains to be seen, and you know what? Who knows what the next multi-million-dollar game purchase is going to be, because they seem to be popping up more and more frequently now, probably because it's a trend. So I guess it remains to be seen. It does kind of follow the trend that's been going on with collecting since COVID now, which is that everything is just going up. So very interesting, and we'll just keep an eye on it and see. We're going to take a little break at this point. We've been going for about an hour or so. So go get yourself a Sammy or some tea like our buddy Seth did, and we will see you in just a second. Welcome back. Thank you for coming back and hanging out with us. We are now going to take a deep dive, as deep as we feel like, into Banjo-Kazooie, into a game and a series that is, universally beloved. Easily one of the best 3D platformers of all time, a masterclass in character design and sound design. So Seth is here as our guest to kind of like be our guide, be our super fan, if you will, be the one who's going to kind of propel us forward and to help us navigate, how do we talk about Banjo-Kazooie in 2021? And so I guess how I want to start this off is how was everyone's first experience playing Banjo-Kazooie? Did you play it as a kid? Did you not play it until recently? Did you play it recently, but you were a kid recently? Any of those options are fine. And I'm going to go ahead and let Seth go first as our guest. The first time you played Banjo-Kazooie, tell me about that.
Yeah, so I got it for Christmas, as I think a lot of kids, did growing up. You birthdays and Christmas, that was it, right? And that copy right there on my shelf behind me, that's my original copy from when I was a kid. And I just absolutely love that game, man. It's just that game blew me absolutely away. Like I remember getting it for Christmas and being so just the box art of that game is so fun. Like it just immediately makes you want to play it. Like whatever it is, you haven't seen anything that just jumps out at you quite like that. And I was absolutely addicted to it. My sister and I played the mess out of it. And it's been something that I go back and revisit Banjo-Kazooie just probably once a year or so, just to be like, is it really, do I still hold it in as high esteem as I always have? And it's like, yeah, like it's still so good. Like I popped in there earlier this week and played the XBLA version just to kind of like refresh myself for this episode. And And it's still, I mean, it's like you were saying earlier, John, you wind up spending like 4 hours with it. You just get sucked into it, you know. I love that game. It's been with me my whole life for the most part.
Awesome. Good deal. John?
So yeah, I played this game at a friend's house mostly. To this day, I still do not own a copy of the first game. I bought the second game from Dan, actually, with a guide, but I think I probably played through the majority of the game just at a good friend's house that I went to all the time. The thing that stands out to me the most was like the they're not really power-ups, but the abilities that you learn in the game, like they're really unique. And you don't really see, especially in this time period, you don't really see a lot of games using the same, gameplay to get you around. I mean, there's really not a whole lot of 3D platformers at the time this came out either. But you could really see that Rare took what they've seen from Mario 64, 2 years before, and just like, we're going to perfect it. Like, it's going to be, because for one thing, like the controls are like near perfect. Like, it's just a very good platformer. But yeah, that's one of my only regrets is that I don't own a copy, and I don't know that I've ever finished the game. Like, I don't remember because I played it when it first came out. But yeah, it's definitely on the list. I'll get one eventually, and I do own it for Xbox One. I believe I have it on Rare Replay, but I don't own the actual N64 copy.
We're gonna have to change that.
Yes.
It's not that expensive. It's pretty reasonable. Sam, Banjo-Kazooie, any experience at all with this game?
I think the initial experience starts with Diddy Kong Racing, because that was the introduction of Banjo to the world, and it really is.
It was
at that time, because Diddy Kong Racing was one of the first N64 games I played. We got an N64 like a year later, and we never got Mario Kart because we already, I think I remember playing the demo of Diddy Kong Racing in a Target or a Best Buy or something, and really, we started asking mom and dad for it, and we got our N64 that Christmas with Mario 64 and Diddy Kong Racing. So really just getting into that, that was and we were already into Donkey Kong Country from the Super Nintendo. So just knowing, we were just all about Rare at that time, at least of the more family friendly side of Rare, less so the Golden Eyes and Perfect Darks.
Killer Instinct.
Yeah. But so that was of course we were gonna get Banjo-Kazooie because this is Banjo from Diddy Kong Racing. I mean, we had Conquer Pocket Tales too.
Yeah, where's my Tip Top game?
Yeah, well, yeah,
right?
I would totally buy a Tip Top game.
Where's my Timber puzzle game?
I think this is one of those. Yeah, this is one of those games that I played a lot as a kid and never 100% beat. But I did get really far. I remember, I got to Click Clock Wood. So I pretty much had most of the stages. I just, at that age, I did not have the concentration or desire to be methodical enough to get all the jiggies. So I was just kind of doing whatever whenever I fired the game up. But yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah.
You weren't getting jiggy with it?
Man,
Solid
just
gold.
hearing you say Click Clock Wood, man, even just hearing about that level just makes me giddy. The levels are so good in this game, you guys.
They really are.
Oh, I love it.
We were also a Rare household, Sam. Donkey Kong Country is, if you know anything about me, you know that's my comfort food. That game is, I know that game forward, backwards, eyes closed, hand tied behind my back. I could play that game in 2 hours and destroy it. So Rare had such a strong place in my heart, and I was waiting for the Donkey Kong game on N64, right? I was all right, Donkey Kong Country was killer. Let's get that Donkey Kong 3D platformer out, guys. And that wasn't until the GameCube was almost out, and then we're here's your Donkey Kong 64 game, Dan. And thank you, let me destroy this game too. So Banjo-Kazooie, which as a kid, I don't think I really had that much of a concept of like who was making my games, you know, like who was developing them.
Yeah.
But it definitely, like, I had the poster from Nintendo Power on my wall, and I was all about Banjo Kazooie when it came out because I was like, this is like the next best thing. I was obsessed with Super Mario 64. And Super Mario 64 and Banjo Kazooie get sort of like compared and contrasted a lot, but they are very different games. At their core, they're both action platformers, but they just approach the problem of an action platformer so differently. And Banjo Kazooie is like Wind Waker in that it is very much like a playable cartoon, and your characters are all incredibly expressive, and like everything has eyes and is a character. And Banjo and Kazooie each have like their very distinct personalities and the way they move, and like just how like goofy Banjo is walking around, and then Kazooie pops out and she's like giving him crap about stuff, and you're like, this is hilarious, this is great.
Yeah, pecking him on the head.
Yeah, like just giving him hell. Was such a great playable cartoon, and then you actually play the game and you're like, oh no, this is Nintendo quality, like high level of polish 3D platformer. And just like John was saying, there wasn't, or I don't know if John or Sam, but somebody said like 3D action platformers, like as prolific as they were on the N64, that wasn't like a huge thing because they're incredibly hard to make and to pull off well. See the PlayStation, where there's like dozens of attempts and like a couple of them were pretty good or did something very unique to separate themselves, like Ape Escape. So I think that Banjo Kazooie is, whereas I find the controls of Mario 64 to be just tighter and much more tuned to like a platforming game, Banjo Kazooie is almost not even like a platformer. It's more of like a puzzle, like battle. It's like there's way less like actual hardcore platforming like there is in a Mario game, and there's much more like boss battle and like puzzle solving and like collectathon than there was in Mario 64, for better or for worse.
You rely on the technique or the abilities a lot more than like critical technique in your control scheme like Mario does.
Because once you unlock all the hats in Mario 64, like that's it. That's everything. You have to just be good at Mario 64 now. Whereas in Banjo-Kazooie, you're constantly unlocking things, which is just another way to approach the problem of a 3D platformer in like progression in a game. So, and there's no like wrong way. I love both of them. But yeah, so Banjo-Kazooie is certainly very, very special to me. And yeah. What about you guys? Comparing Mario 64 to Banjo-Kazooie. Any thoughts on that?
I was going to say, somebody should go first because I have a lot.
I think which one you prefer just says a lot about, you know, the kind of thing that draws you into a game. I think Mario 64 is a lot more direct in, and at least compared to Banjo-Kazooie. It definitely paved the way for the 3D platformer genre of the idea of, you know,
1000%.
2D Mario is straight up an obstacle course. You know, reach the end, jump over the things, land on the things, get to the end. Whereas 3D Mario still has a lot of that in its DNA, even in the way the levels are built. You look at Bomb Battlefield or Thwomp Fortress, and, you know, principally, at least for those first few stars, your objective is to scale a mountain and get to the top. Like, it's just a 3D version of the same, like, reach the end. It's literally
there's even a flagpole at the end.
Right.
Whereas Banjo-Kazooie is much more just find the stuff. And, like, Mario has that, but it almost feels more like, you know, something that did grow out of, like, finding the hidden exits in Mario World. Whereas Banjo-Kazooie, and I think the real clear distinction is that, you know, in Banjo-Kazooie, you find a Jiggy and you just keep going to the next one. You don't go back
The
to
flow is
start
totally different.
to
Yeah.
run through the course
Big time.
again. You just go wherever you want.
And I would even say those two play styles kind of like Nintendo. Oh, man, I don't know if I'm going to get crap for this or not. I feel like even Nintendo learned from Rare, because you look at a game like Mario Sunshine, and that game totally took the whole upgrade mechanic of like you're constantly upgrading new abilities for Flood, and that came right from what Banjo-Kazooie did. You know, you're constantly upgrading Banjo-Kazooie's moves, instead of just the straight like you're Mario, go, you know?
And Mario Odyssey is definitely more like Banjo-Kazooie than it is like Mario 64.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
totally.
mean, just in the fact you don't have a hub world, you don't have. I mean, what? Yeah, just in how it flows and how you can kind of go different places earlier on. I think that Mario 64 is a lot more linear than Banjo-Kazooie as well. Like, kind of just take off.
Yeah. Awesome. Seth, I want to hear what you have to say, dude. You're here to entertain us.
So you know, I'm not going to take anything away from Super Mario 64's like iconic status, right? Because there's no question that Banjo-Kazooie would not exist without Super Mario 64. Like, no question whatsoever, right? And I think the two do get compared a lot. I think that the comparisons are somewhat invited. I would even argue that Banjo-Kazooie has like a few overt references even to Super Mario 64. But I feel like Banjo-Kazooie was essentially, and Rare also, I think, was in that era making better games than Nintendo was. And I mean, Rare was the best Nintendo 64 developer, in my opinion, just straight up. And so Banjo-Kazooie is their masterpiece, and they took the, you know, Banjo or Super Mario 64 quite literally walked so that Banjo could run.
Mm-hmm.
And they just it is a situation of like, everything you can do, I can do better, you know, like, and it's Mario 64 100% pioneered everything, but then Banjo-Kazooie was the improvement of almost everything. Like, if you go through point by point, almost everything is, in my opinion at least, better in Banjo-Kazooie. Like, the controls, I think, are better. There's a clear distinction to be made there. We've already kind of touched on how different the flow of those two games are. But for me, like, the way it just feels to play Banjo-Kazooie is still like pitch perfect. Like the way those characters feel to control, the, you know, the unlockable move set. Whereas with Mario, of course, you've just got ostensibly the same moves throughout the entire game, which is cool. And the game was obviously designed around that. But then like Banjo-Kazooie is like, the exploration space is infinite. And then it just continues to grow as you play the game. The music in Banjo-Kazooie, I think, is better. Like, the hub world is more interesting. Even like the story, such as it is. I mean, like, we were talking on Twitter earlier this week, Dan, about how Mario is like super boring.
Yeah.
And you know, like, just as a character,
as
right?
A character,
he's just
yeah.
objectively like a super uninteresting character. And you know, in Banjo-Kazooie, like, the story is very light. You know, you're just save the princess / sister kind of thing, right? So, but they never let you forget about those stakes. Like, the game over screen in Banjo-Kazooie is super dark.
Oh my gosh.
And like,
so bad.
Never lets you forget that you're like literally trying to save your sister from being like demorphed and like sucked the youth out of from Gruntilda. And it's like kind of dark and horrifying. It's so I don't know, man. Like, for me, every single solitary thing about Banjo-Kazooie was like, hey, let's take Mario 64 and make it better. Mario 64 had the, you know, the ice level, let's make a better one. Mario 64 had the desert level, let's make a better one. You know, Mario 64 had like the monster mansion, haunted mansion thing, let's make a better one, more cohesive. Like, I just, for me, like, it's no question which one I prefer. And I think that Mario 64, you know, gets praise duly, But Banjo-Kazooie, even though in the modern day I would say it maybe gets a little bit overrated by a lot of people. I think a lot of people, kind of rest their laurels on Banjo, thinking that they're, like, oh, I'm so interesting because I like Banjo-Kazooie, right? But it's just like, for me, it's almost an objective thing. When I look at that game, it's impossible for me to take the rose-colored glasses off, but I look at that game and I'm just like, this is still so good. This is still just head and shoulders above a lot of things that are releasing even today. Mm-hmm. Like, so smart, so innovative, so like just taking all the groundwork that Mario 64 laid and just building on top of it and making the perfect representation of those ideas. Yeah. Sorry.
It might. Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry.
Other 3D platformers that don't measure up. I mean, there were plenty before, but there were even more after. And I don't think any of them measure up to Banjo-Kazooie or Mario 64.
I think it's helpful to, when we're trying to compare games in a single generation or like genre wise, it can be helpful, I think, to look at kind of like, here are the games that launched with a system, right? So like, Nintendo obviously had the most time with the system, and Mario 64 is like the best they could do with the amount of time the developers had with the system. And then you add 2 years to that, and now we're at like, okay, Banjo-Kazooie is, now you've had this system and you could push it even further and know how to make things work. Because having a console in a generation is a progressive thing, and things get better and better as developers learn how to work with the hardware more and more and more. And that's just a true as it is today, as it was especially in the 90s. And you look at and so it might almost be interesting to compare and contrast Ocarina of Time, which came out the same year as Banjo-Kazooie, because that's Nintendo saying, okay, now we've had time with the system. Here's our best 2 years in. You know what I mean? Not that they're the same kind of game, although in a lot of ways, Ocarina of Time is more akin to the kind of 3D platformer Banjo-Kazooie is than even Mario 64, which is more like Mario 3 or 2 or 1 in its like in its platforming. Like, you can't even call, like, Ocarina of Time is not a platform in any sense of the word. There's very little jumping from platform to platform. It's more action RPG. So like, is Banjo-Kazooie an action RPG? Like, is Banjo-Kazooie an action RPG is the question. More than it is Mario 64. Like, just because they had the same DNA, I think that there can be an argument for, it takes a higher skill level to do what you need to do in Mario 64 than it does to beat Banjo-Kazooie. Not that that's praising one over the other, just that in an RPG, in its like genre name, you're role playing. I don't actually have to be a good like twitchy video game player to beat an RPG. I just need to like think my way through things and upgrade the character on screen to a point where I can beat the game. As opposed to a platformer where it's like, get better, like physically get better. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think you touch on something interesting there. And I think Sam sort of touched on this earlier too, when he was talking about how Mario 64 is sort of like the twitchy, raw, white knuckle platforming of a 2D Mario game put into a 3D space. Mm-hmm. And yeah, something like Banjo-Kazooie, Ocarina of Time, or whatever. I mean, these are completely kind of different takes on that. But yeah, I mean, like, so it does feel kind of weird. It does feel kind of like a space to perform like individualized challenges in Mario 64, and something like Banjo-Kazooie is just spaces to explore. It's almost more an adventure game.
It's much more holistic as a game. Yeah. And that's why I wanted to compare it more to Ocarina of Time, because it really is, you're upgrading your character as you go.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I mean, like, Click Clock Wood's a great example of like, that is basically a point and click adventure game stage, essentially. Click Clock Wood is this awesome stage in Banjo-Kazooie that takes place over the 4 different seasons, and it has like the puzzle solving in that stage involves things that you would see in like a point and click adventure. It requires you to think outside the box. And another thing that's cool about Banjo Kazooie is the concept of like the transformations.
Oh yeah.
And then that's another thing where you can like have the Mumbo transformations, and then again everything they add, you know, just adds to that possibility space, and being able to then leave the level as the transformed character and explore the hub and unlock other things in the hub. I mean, like it's so cool.
Super
like
deep.
so high standard, and yeah, totally different.
What are your guys' thoughts on that, John? Is Banjo-Kazooie more of an action adventure game and less of a platformer as far as like Mario 64 versus Ocarina of Time goes?
Yeah, I would agree with that mostly. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't. It's hard to compare the two, Ocarina of Time and Banjo, and the fact that with the upgrades, because with Zelda, a lot of them are like can still be skill based, like some of the upgrades.
That's true.
Like learning how to, you know, horseback archery and like all the different things. But there's also a lot more of incorporating things into the puzzle stuff that I do think they're very similar in. There's a lot of things in Banjo Kazooie that you have to have the certain ability unlocked in order to complete the portion of the puzzle that you come across, which is more similar to Ocarina of Time than say Mario. You know, you get the hats, but there's very few elements in the game that actually requires you to use them.
And the hats really just change how you interact with the platforming, right?
Correct.
It doesn't give you a gun.
You can beat
No.
the game without ever using them.
Right.
Yes,
You won't get 120 stars, but you can beat the game.
correct. And with Banjo Kazooie, you're not going to complete the game without getting all of the abilities.
It's almost
they're
more
good.
of a Metroidvania in that way. Weirdly.
Ooh.
Correct. Yeah, it's almost more like Prime, where like you have to go back once you get a certain ability. Like, if I was going to compare them, I mean, you know, it's if Prime would have came out on the N64, like,
Guys,
should have.
Banjo-Kazooie is a Metroidvania. That's what's up. It super
Yeah.
is.
Well, think
to
about
walk
it, right?
it back.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Mario 64 still has a more of that than a 2D Mario. Because a 2D Mario,
Yeah.
your objective is always 100% clear. It is move right until you reach the end. In Mario 64, your objective is sometimes pretty clear. Like sometimes the star is literally visible from the start of the stage, and you're just like, okay, how do I get up there? But it might be, you know, locked behind something, and you have to figure out, okay, how do I open this? How do I
inside
get
this
chain
giant
jump
wall.
out of the way? How do I, you know?
Yeah, like
Whatever.
the world itself is a puzzle. In a
But
way.
with Banjo, I mean, that's always the case.
Right.
It's, you know, you walk up to a character who may or may not have a Jiggy, and they have some problem, and you have to fix it for them, and you have to figure out, okay, which of my abilities would actually do anything here.
Yeah.
Yeah. That a good example of like a Metroidvania kind of thing is like, you know, right from the beginning, Mumbo's Mountain, right? Where it's like, hey, there's a slope with platforms that I know I should be able to reach. I can't quite jump high enough. You know, like what do I need? I try to walk up and I just slide right back down. What do I need to do? Right. And then it's like, cool, you've got the Talon Trot or whatever, and you can just, you know, hop your way up there. And then like you go inside of the termite mound, and it's like, okay, now I can get up to a certain point, but I can't, like I'm always going to slide off. What do I have to do? And then you learn that you can turn into a termite, and now you can freely climb in there. So I mean, yeah, it's definitely got some Metroidvania DNA. I've never really thought about it that way.
It's pretty crazy to think about because that feels right, which is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
So I didn't spend a lot of time with Banjo Tooie. The sigh says it all.
Yeah. So okay. So I have kind of I guess a slightly hot take on Banjo Tooie. It's not near as good in my opinion. it is. I remember when Banjo Tooie was coming out, I was so hyped, right? And I remember reading about in like Nintendo Power, Rare's whole like PR statement was like, oh, you can fit, the entirety of Banjo Kazooie inside of the first level of Banjo Tooie. It's going to be the biggest game we've ever made. It's going to be awesome. But like Banjo Tooie is like way too big for his britches. It's still a good game, but to me, the scale of Kazooie is pitch perfect. Absolutely perfect. It's never overwhelming. It's not the kind of thing where you've got to do like all these different tasks at once, especially for some of those Jiggies and Banjo Tooie and even Jinjos and Banjo Tooie. It's like really strange, like multi-tiered. It gets like way too complex. So yeah, I like Banjo Tooie, but it is not like to the same standard as Kazooie at all.
It was
I
the beginning.
Think that post about Banjo, the entirety of the first game fitting inside the first level, just proves that Rare was ahead of their time, because companies Bethesda and Ubisoft would be saying things like that throughout the next 2 console generations until they finally realized people don't want giant empty worlds.
Yep. It was there of a smaller one that's complete, full.
It was the beginning of the Donkey Kong 64 conundrum, which
gosh,
is it's so weird to me, because I look at Donkey Kong 64 and I love everything about it. But that's because when I'm a kid and I have that game and there's a billion things to do, I'm like, I'm never going to run out of stuff to do in this game. This is awesome. I have all the time in the world and the biggest 3D platformer, for better or for worse, ever made right in front of me. And it's Donkey Kong. What could go wrong? And then like, I didn't find out until later that people actually hated that game for that reason.
I liked it as a kid too. I can't.
I liked it, not as much as others.
But
that was the game that came with I got the N64 that came with Donkey Kong 64. It was my first N64. I played him at friend's house a lot, but I didn't actually get one until '99. So I was way later getting my own stuff, and I played it to entirety, like went all the way through it.
But the DNA,
I wouldn't do it again.
The thing that we lost, I think the thing that Rare lost when going from Banjo-Kazooie to, I don't know about Banjo Tooie, but definitely Donkey Kong 64, is that like the world that you're in, like the overworld in those games, if you were, suddenly became much less interesting to me. Playing Banjo-Kazooie, that you're right about, like, there's so many ways to interact with that overworld, and it's almost like a branching paths maze, like going through like Gruntilda's caves and so everything. Good. And Banjo and Donkey Kong 64, it's like it's all, you can see it all on the map. It's like, here's Donkey Kong's head, here's the giant robot, you're gonna explore all of it, and it's all right here. And there's not a lot going on under the surface there. That's pretty much your map. And that I think is a tragedy, because that's really like a huge reason, a huge thing that made Banjo-Kazooie so fun and unique, was just the constant discovery in every nook and cranny. So
yeah, discovery is it's little things, right? It's like you're exploring Gruntilda's lair and it's got that awesome Grant Kirkhope score, like one of my favorite video game soundtracks of all times, like dun doo 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 doo.
Oh yeah.
And then like that theme changes in proximity to the other levels, so all of a sudden you've got like a Treasure Trove Cove-ified version of the theme. It's so good, and there's so much personality in every bit of Banjo-Kazooie. I know some people kind of find it like generic, they just stick like googly eyes on everything, but the writing is funny. There's all these little like quirks to the worlds, like in Bubble Goop Swamp, where you have like the Mr. Vile thing, that little mini game that has kind of become like infamous. You got all these little individualized stories, that take place inside of these play spaces. It's just,
Freeze Easy
I've
Peak.
got, like,
Freeze Easy Peak, easily the soundtrack plays in my head constantly.
And it's like almost operatic. Like it's got like an epic kind of quality to that score. It's that soundtrack is so excellent. That's one of those things. That's just another thing I've gotten into many conversations about this over the years where people are like, well, what about this with Mario 64? This was better. I'm like, no, it wasn't. Like the music in Banjo Kazooie is so good. Like
It's just subjective.
People are sleeping on it.
Yeah. Awesome. Good deal. Well, I think we're about to wrap up our Banjo Kazooie talk. Seth, if Rare's like, hey, we're making Banjo Kazooie 3, we're making what is it? Somebody said, oh, let's make Banjo Redooey. That's what it is. And
Right.
Banjo Redooey.
what do you want to see in Banjo Kazooie 3? Can they even do it? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
This is like payback for when I asked you this same question.
Yes,
for
it
Gotcha
is.
Force. So Banjo 3E or Redooey or whatever. First of all, I don't think that's ever going to happen, and if it does, today's Rare is so different from that era of Rare. I don't know that I would necessarily want the Rare of today to make that. I think it kind of did happen. It was called Ukulele, right? And like that game, I like that game more than most people, but like that they couldn't really capture lightning in a bottle again, you know? And
That's exactly what it was.
yeah, so I don't know that I would really want them to kind of rip that Band-Aid off. In a weird way, it's one of those games where I wish there was just like this one perfect first entry, and in a weird way I wish it had just stayed that so that I could just keep it in my heart as it was and not have to think about nuts and bolts and whatnot. But yeah, if I think I would just take a more measured approach to it today. Like have limitation. Like I think that when you start to go too big, you also start to get too empty. It's impossible to have like the charm and personality and design that Kazooie had at its scale with the kind of like big bombastic scale of games today. Like those things are polar opposites from each other. So I would almost want, like, I would love it so much. This will never happen in a million years, but I would love it so much if they literally gave themselves like N64 limitations to make a brand new Banjo-Kazooie game, like literally in an N64 engine.
Just give it to an indie game. Indie developer.
Like I would love that, dude. I would absolutely love that because I still think like I still think that game looks great, like from an art style perspective. Yeah. So, but I know that's never going to happen. That's just my fanboy dream.
And I think that going back, there are so few great 3D platformers, and I think it's because they're just tough as nails to make well. You know, like, and I think Banjo. I think Johnny hit the nail on the head. I'm having trouble with words tonight, in case you can't tell. Hit the nail on the head when you brought up Ukulele, because it wasn't bad, but it just kind of, it wasn't lightning in a bottle, you know, like Mario 64, Banjo Kazooie, maybe Conker's Bad Fur Day. I don't know, name two more. Like, what are the great 3D platformers, you know, in that generation? It's tough.
This might be a hot take, but I think I prefer Conker's Bad Fur Day over Banjo Kazooie from what I've played.
I could see that. That's that perspective.
That's a whole other conversation.
It is. Yeah,
I've still never played that game.
Oh man, Conker is a trip, man. That game.
No, it's so much fun.
Yeah, I was
It's
the
super
sheltered
fun.
kid that didn't play Doom. I played Chex Quest.
It's incredibly problematic these days as well, but it's still
the
fun.
Great Mighty Poo.
It's just
doesn't
the
fly.
Great Mighty Poo.
it's sexist and
The song.
horrible, and yeah, it was at an era where there were like scantily clad women on like half the game boxes in the store.
Oh
so,
yeah, booth babes. And whatnot,
and all that. So yeah, that's Conker. We'll have a Conker episode, but not today. And the only other thing I want to say that I cannot agree with you on is that Rare is a better developer on N64 than Nintendo. And my only case in point for that, and the only one you need, is Star Fox 64. Thank you very much. Case closed.
Hey, dude,
That's fair. I mean,
you're a Donkey Kong guy. Come on.
That's true.
Well,
That's
yeah,
true.
and let's disregard GoldenEye and Perfect Dark, and like all these other myriad other
Blast
amazing
Cores
weird games.
and
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Jet Force Gemini. Look at all the Rare was like tearing it up in the N64.
Still would
era.
rather just play Star Fox 64, but that's maybe that's just me. That's just a me thing.
I'll give it to you, man.
Awesome. Love you, Seth. Thanks for coming on and chatting some Banjo Kazooie, for learning us a couple things.
Love you too, buddy.
Wow, awesome. Good stuff. Well, that's our show. That's how we wrap it up here is with some Banjo Kazooie talk and having Seth on from the All N podcast and a myriad of other projects going on. Seth, tell us a little bit about what you have going on, where people can find you. Plug yourself, because I love all your projects. Sure. You're a super fun podcast guest and host. People definitely have to check out your stuff.
Dude. I appreciate that. So yeah, I have a couple irons in the fire. So the big one is, of course, All In, a Nintendo podcast, which is kind of my main show. It's a weekly Nintendo variety show that you can find anywhere fine podcasts are distributed. Just look up All In Podcast. There's you can find us on Facebook and Twitter at All In Podcast. And then, yeah, as part of that, we kind of have our own little mini network, and Keep Nintendo Weird, my other show, which goes live on a bi-weekly basis every other week. And like I said earlier, it's a weird Nintendo show about weird Nintendo games. And again, we've had Dan and Sam on both of those shows in the past, and just always a great time. So like you've got All In, which is kind of like, we do the standard news, but we have like these other segments where we cover like indie games, produce weekly top fives. Then we have kind of like a revolving, fourth segment to shake it up. Could be a review, could be a guest interview, whatever. And then, yeah, Keep Nintendo Weird is where we focus on one game and I link up with a guest and we just chat about a weird Nintendo game they love, like Dan with Gotcha Force. So have a ton of fun over there. We're on YouTube now. You can find us on there. All In a Nintendo podcast on YouTube. I'm always making video content. I just put up a video of the Outbound Ghost demo on there, so I'm always making videos on there. And yeah, just keeping busy, man. Just making content.
Nice.
I just love to make stuff.
Good stuff. Well, we're huge Seth fans around here, and Eric. Eric's pretty cool too, but
he's all right. We'll keep him around.
Yeah, definitely go subscribe to All In and Keep Nintendo Weird, and keep an ear out for me on this week's Keep Nintendo Weird, talking about one of my favorite games of all time. That is worth now $500,000 for whatever reason.
Right. That's at K&W Podcast if you guys want to follow that one.
Do it. Awesome. On Twitter. Great. So, John, anything you want to say before we wrap up? Sam, you got anything?
I'm good.
All right.
Good. I was about to say, you want to throw in a little good?
You did an impression earlier, a sound effect earlier that you nailed, and I forget what it was now.
Oh, the Talon Trot thing?
Yes, the Talon Trot was pretty authentic.
Nailed it. Totally. Awesome. Well, thanks you guys for listening to the RetroLogic podcast. We are proudly part of the Nintendo Dads family of podcasts. If you like what you hear, check me out on Twitter and Instagram at RetroLogic Games. You're also welcome to jump into our friendly and 100% non-toxic Discord community. The link to that is in my Twitter bio. You can also check out Retro Groove, which is a weekly music history-based podcast. And you can find everything at retrologic.games. That's our website. So go there, go check out the game store and the merch and all the Discord and all the thingy diggies we got going on. And don't forget to check out the All In podcast with my buddy Seth here. And we will see you guys on the next one.
I've been on a lot of flights and I've never used an airplane bathroom.
That's
Really?
impressive. I like using
I
airplane
watched somebody
bathrooms.
disappear in one of those bathrooms. Like I watched them go in. I was sitting right beside the bathroom, the next seat over from the door. I watched somebody go in and they never came back out. So I don't know what happened.
He was trying to sneak
John,
onto
you've
the
been
next
on this
flight.
airplane for 30 years.
Yeah, I don't know. Crazy. They got dumped out, flushed.
What was that movie with the lady on the airplane who like lost her kid? Red Eye? Or
Not
Snakes on
ringing
a plane.
bell.
Snakes on a
No,
Plane.
Snakes
That's
on
it.
a plane.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. All right, let's do it.
Do
We're
it.
jumping in. We're going all in.
Yeah. It's time to go all in
in.
is the catchphrase.
I wasn't going to use your exact catchphrase. I have to use.
Well,
I have to
legally,
augment
you
it
gotta
a
pay
little
me
bit.
royalties for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Gotta tweak it.
You're not getting a penny from me, mister. All right.